So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce them. We have Avita Robinson, the founder of Nomadness Travel Tribe.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Mahisha Dellinger, the founder and CEO of Curls.
Yeah.
Hello. And Tiffany, the budgetnista Aliche.
Ow.
Shoot.
So we're going to spend most of today talking not just about entrepreneurship in general. Are they all up? Just me? But specifically about the finances behind your entrepreneurial journey. So I'm going to ask each of you to talk about how you started your companies in terms of finances. I know, Mahisha, you were very strategic about your transition from corporate America into entrepreneurship,
Yes.
especially as it related to money.
Right. So, are you asking me how I funded so I can...
Yeah, I mean, you can tell them the whole story of deciding to start your business, making the transition, and how you prepared for that financially.
Sure. So just transparently, I left corporate America because I was disenfranchised by the way I was treated. Left size, right size, ostracized every single day of my life in corporate America. Despite being an outperformer in my category, in my department, I was targeted to be removed. So that left me in a very vulnerable state because I was a young single mother. And going through that journey and getting through it, I actually got through it at the end of the 6-month trial. I realized I never wanted to have someone control my financial destiny ever again. So that's why I shifted gears in my mind and decided that I wanted to look at another way to make my financial legacy stick. And that's when I looked at entrepreneurship. I never set out to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I thought when I went into Intel Corporation that I was going to retire there. But after that experience, my mind shifted gears. But so that's how I got started. That's what started my business, the idea of not being able to elevate as fast or as far as I wanted to, and having this plateau and even a target on my back shifted my mindset about corporate America. So I founded Curls in 2002. I was a newly natural mom looking for products for my hair. And back then, think we had Jerry Curl juice, relaxers, perms, right? So I wanted to bring something else to the market that I would use and love and other people would too. So I did my due diligence that we all should do when you start a business and found that it was actually a profitable, sustainable opportunity because many of us were going natural. And so I launched it on a very small shoestring budget, working from my home and my garage, and had maybe 8 products. Clicked on the website switch on, and that next morning I had 8 orders, and I was like, yay, I have 8 orders, oh my God. And so I went into business that way, very small. And then I went from very small e-commerce to selling to salons in my local area, then from there to distributors calling me to sell to salons. And then I got a call from Target one day when they were looking to revamp their ethnic category because relaxers were down, and they wanted some new, fresh, lively brands in. So Curls was one of the original 4 pioneering brands that launched that space, that category. It was 4 of us on an end cap. They said 105 stores, test. If you do well, we'll proceed and move forward with you. If not, we'll send you your stuff back. We did it phenomenally well. And so after that, continued to grow. Went from 100 to 400 to 800 to nationwide. All the other retailers started to call us after. And now we're in every major retailer you can imagine in the US and abroad.
But even though you were disenfranchised in corporate America, you didn't just quit and decide to go do something else.
Right, and so you know that story. So I'm glad you reminded me to say this part. It's very important to be strategic and careful and plan out how you leave your corporate job if that's what you're gonna do. Now, I'm not the one that's gonna tell you to leap out on faith. Now, I'm a woman of faith, but I'm also a smart woman that says that we need to also do things in order, right? So I left Intel, a 9 to 5 under a roof kind of job, and got a job with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. So that way I can, Pfizer in the house? What are you selling? What do you sell?
I work in comms now, but I started off with Lipitor, SistersInc, and Viagra.
Okay, so I sold Norvasc, Lipitor, and Viagra and Zithromax. So I had those drugs, and I was in there. I was the first rep in, so I got all my doctors seen by noon, because you have to see 8 doctors a day. Got all mine done by noon. Came home and worked on Curls from the rest of the day. Now that's how I was able to keep money in my family pocket and not take money out of Curls. So every dime that I made in Curls was reinvested back into the business. And I did both for such a long time until I couldn't do it anymore. And I remember saying, I'm going to leave Pfizer 1 December. I said, I'm going to leave because now it was too much. I think it was 3 years in. I was doing both. I had 2 babies, additional babies on top of that, so 3 total, Pfizer and curls. And then I said, I'm going to leave in December. I put it out there because I speak it into existence. And then that November, they had a layoff. And I'm praying for this layoff because I was going to get a severance package. Yeah. I was the only one praying for a layoff. Only one. And I got the severance package. I got laid off. So it wound up propelling me into curls full time. And then from there, the rest was history.
Avita, you also were an accidental entrepreneur, and you were very candid about the fact that, you know, you weren't really in the best place financially to start a business when you did.
So I was not strategic and I was broke. I'm the one who funded a lot of the earlier years of No Madness through crowdfunding, which is something that I still think a lot of people, you know it now with the GoFundMes and things of that sort. We were some of the first Kickstarter campaigns that you could have for different initiatives that I was building with No Madness. So now when I started No Madness in September 2011, it was with 100 primarily African-American women. And in the 8 years, No Madness has now grown to 22,000 primarily Black women from around the world that I take all over the planet for cross-cultural pollination experiences and group trips. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So I'm your travel girl.
Love it.
And at that time, when we started No Madness, there was no Black travel movement. We were really the genesis behind that 8 years ago, and now there's so many different facets and nuggets, so it's cool to actually understand that you're making a dent in an industry, and I think all 3 of us can say that in different respects. And with that, I was working in television and video production. I know this is a lot of the corporate stuff. I walked out of my corporate job years before that. A lot of people don't know this, but I used to work at IBM. And I was rushed to the hospital for a panic attack. And it was about a Thursday. I took the rest of that weekend off. That Monday, I went back to work, had another panic attack. As soon as I hit the lobby, I went upstairs and I packed my stuff and I walked out. I quit. Because what happens is there comes a point in your life where if you know that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, your emotional state is already going to tell you, but your body is going to start reacting to you going against what you're supposed to be doing. And that, for me, ended up showing itself in anxiety and panic attacks. And I was like, you're going to sit down, because your body's going to make you sit down and really reevaluate where your heart is and move forth, no matter how scary it is. And so for me, I was freelancing in television and video production, which is my educational background is in media. And you still see parts of that in No Madness. But when we started with those 100 people, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I was building community. And for me, and Tiffany's one of my homegirls. I'm like having this geek out moment right now with my girl. You know, understanding that community is at the forefront of what I do for No Madness is the beginning and the end. And so I didn't go into this knowing I was starting a business at all. It really popped up. One afternoon, you know, we're out, you know, talking online in the No Madness Facebook group, and they're just like, you know, there's a travel group, so let's get some travel going on. And I'm like, hold up, I don't even know, 1, if I like y'all. And 2, up to that point, I was a female backpacker, so I had traveled primarily solo. So here we are now, again, this whole Black travel movement wasn't in existence at this point in time. So now these are the genesis steps. And it was one like Tuesday night, work and school night, where we said, okay, we're gonna go to Bocas del Toro, Panama. I'm thinking I can go to sleep and wake up to people that are interested. And within an hour, we knew who was gonna be there. People were screenshotting flights and putting it in the group. And I was blown away, because in that moment, I realized that I had not just created a community, but I created a business that needed me as much as I needed them. And that was a game changer for me. So being broke, I leaned into the community and ended up doing Kickstarter campaigns and crowdfunding for the first almost 3 years of No Madness for different initiatives that we had. And the community rose to the occasion and still does every single day. So there are options even if you don't have money. And I really want you to understand that.
So speaking of not starting with a lot, Tiffany, you started your business with $250, and that was a loan from a boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend.
She married now, boo.
Ex-boyfriend. Tell us how you started.
Yeah, honestly, so I actually was a school teacher for 10 years. I went to school for business. I knew early on I didn't have to have a big foot in the door for corporate America to realize it wasn't for me. I had a number of internships, and I was like, I hate every single one. And so it was my senior year, and I thought, what am I going to do? Because here I'm graduating with this business degree, but I hate all these internships. I'm not allowed to be my wild, funny, silly self, you know? And so I decided, you know what? I really love kids. I've been teaching on campus to make money. I will start teaching at preschool, I'll get certified in older grades, and then I'll move on. Well, 1 year turned into 10 years in the preschool classroom. I went on to get my master's in education, but I had grown up in a household where money was talked about all the time. My father, he's retired now, was a CFO and an accountant, and he's got a master's in economics and a bachelor's in finance. And so I'm one of 5 girls, and he used to teach us about money all the time. I mean, we would have Thursday night money lessons. This is how you budget, this is how you save. I knew how much the electric bill was because it was always on a dining room table, highlighted, you know? And so it was part of normal life for me to talk about money. And I didn't realize it wasn't until I went to college for other people until my roommate was getting bill collectors calling the room. And it was because her parents had opened up bills in her name. Ooh. And so I was like, wow. So that was the first time I started teaching what I'd known. Because I didn't know other people didn't know that, you know? And so the Budgetnista really started just me helping my friends. I never thought of it as a business. When I graduated college and went on to teach, the parents, I taught and I still live in Newark, New Jersey. And then the parents, okay, Brick City, okay. So you learn one thing, when you teach folk and folks' kids, people get real comfortable, right? Miss Tiffany, let me hold something. I was like, you know what you can hold? Knowledge. Come sit. So for those of you who don't know what let me hold something means,
Yes.
it means, can I borrow some money?
Yeah.
For those of you unhood initiated, right? So, Miss Tiffany, can I borrow some money? And parents would ask me that all the time because they would get very comfortable. Because when you're brown and you teach brown kids and you teach brown parents, it just becomes very comfortable. You become a family, you know? And where I taught in Newark was very economically depressed, so I wasn't surprised by the ask. But I realized that me giving you $20 was not really going to make a difference. So I actually started when the kids would go to sleep, we would have parent university, and the parents would come in, and I would teach them how to budget, how to save, how to fix their credit. So it was just my way. I mean, I became a teacher to live a life of service. So it was my way of extending that to the parents. And again, I thought this is just me giving back. And you get sometimes this inkling that it's time for you to move on. So first it's like a little whisper, and you're like, shh, I'm right now. Then it's a little dust in your face, and you're like, that's okay, I can deal. Then it's a rock, then it's a brick, then the whole house falls down. And I knew it was time for me to leave the classroom, but I didn't want to because I love the kids, I love what I was doing, but it was time for me to shift, and I didn't know what else to do. And then one day, 3 days before the new school year, we got the call that our center was closing because it was a recession, and it was a nonprofit-based school, and they lost their funding. And I was like, well, I guess this is message, gotcha, Jesus. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I tried all this other stuff. I volunteered everywhere I could think of. I tried event planning, I was tutoring, I was babysitting, and the one thing that came back, I didn't want to go back to the classroom because by then I was kind of a little weary, but the one thing that came back is, Tiffany, you are a teacher. And so the recession hit, and as I was navigating, I had 2 years worth of saved, and although I was struggling, I wasn't struggling like everyone else because I could still navigate my finances. And so my girlfriends started coming to me and then bringing their friends, and then bringing their friends, and then one day someone asked me how much did I cost, and I'm like, well, you know, free. My best friend's like, you don't have any money. You can't be free. And I was like, I don't know, $50, $100. I literally had no concept of pricing. And so I remember I needed this is where the $250 comes in. I needed a computer. And so my ex-boyfriend at the time, I'd broken up with him, but I was like, I know we're not together, but I need to buy a computer.
I need to hold something.
Right? Let me hold something. Oh, you see? Full circle moment. And so he gave me $250, and I bought myself a netbook. If you're not familiar, a netbook is literally a glorified cell phone. Right? It is not quite a computer. It is not quite a cell phone. Someplace in between, but close to the phone. And for 3 years, me and the public library with their free internet and that netbook ran a business. Wow. For 3 years. And so you don't have to have a lot to do a lot. You know, you just have to be willing to do the work required. And now the Budgetnista, I run 3 different businesses. Well, I have more than that, but 3 core businesses that I'm the CEO of. And we bring in just about $4 million a year. Yep. And I still run my business from my MacBook Air. You don't need anything fancy sometimes, you know? And so I'm just here to say that, like, it's possible. I mean, I was a preschool teacher less than 10 years ago, you know, and now I'm the CEO of 3 companies that do very well.
Yeah. Yes. Clap for that. Tiffany, you've made the great point that in the beginning, business finances are personal finances,
Yes.
because when your business isn't established, banks and other lenders are going to be looking at you and your personal credit history
Yes.
to determine, whether or not they should lend to you. So if we have aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience right now, for all of you women, what are the tips you would give them that they need to do to get their personal finances in order to have business success?
Cut back, cut back, cut back. So my sister, she actually used to work for this big financial firm. She really wanted to be a stylist. Just this weekend, I told her, you can't afford your life currently, and so you need to let go of your apartment. It's her dream apartment. And she was like, no. I said, okay, well, then be broke, because look, I don't give money to sisters. You won't be homeless and you won't be hungry, but I'm not gonna give you money because you have to be willing to make these choices. So she gave up her apartment this weekend. You have to allow yourself the space for success. If you're spending money on things that are not necessities for your success, you're gonna run out of money before you give your business a chance to grow. You might need 6 months before your business is gonna pop, maybe 1 year. But what if you run out of money 6 months before your business does well, 2 months before? When you really cut back and live simply. I moved in with my parents. I was 31 years old. Then I slept on my sister's couch for a year, much to her dismay. But whatever, girl, we sisters, right? But cutting back, living simply, and then reinvesting that money is gonna be your best friend. And being careful that you are really clear about ROI, return on investment, in the beginning. You wanna make sure that you are investing in things where there's a direct return on investment. Example, I wanna own a bakery because I wanna be a baker. I can get a bakery, that's not a good return on investment because I'm not getting my money back right away. What I should be buying is eggs, flour, milk, sugar, whatever it is you bake with. Clearly I don't bake. Because I can sell that and get my money back. Then buy some more, then get my money back. And buy some more and get my money back. And then when I have a little bit of space, then I can get those things where the return on investment is 6 months or whatever, or a year from now. But in the beginning, direct return on investment is gonna be your best friend.
There's a lot of nodding going on over there.
Listen, all day, I agree, 100%. But also, one thing I want to say to us, we have to live below our means, in line with what you're saying. Below our means, not at or above, below.
Yes.
Because you have to have that space, number one, to have the money to be free with your investments. But also, some businesses, most fail by 5 years, right? Year 5. And you're expected to be in the red till at least year 3. So with that said, living below your means, and also, you said you moved back with your family?
Yep.
Having the control of your finances, we as people tend to, and I can speak freely because it's just us.
It's just
We
us.
want to show our wealth.
Yes.
That's not the way we should be. Don't rock a shell bag if you don't have at least $5,000 to have in that purse. Like, we can't do that. We have to, when you make your first set of profits from your business, don't go buy that bag. Go put it back in your business. You know what I mean? And don't think that our cars have to be the most beautiful cars or even our homes, right? So live below, get in the habit. And I had to shift my mindset because I came from nothing. And I wanted to be flashy when I first got going. But now the power of saving is so much more sexy to me, of investing and saving. That, like, my kids, for me, I have 4 children. Like Donald Trump walked away with $1 million from his family. I want all my kids to walk away with 2. So how we think about money has to shift. How we view money to be prosperous, successful, and sustainable.
Yes.
I'm gonna dial it all the way back and get back to super basics. The first thing that you need to do is face it. Whatever your circumstance is, you've got to look it in the eye and have an honest conversation and discourse with yourself or whoever your financial advisors are, and then from there make a plan. I'm gonna tell you a quick story about how I did this with mine. I made one phone call to one person when I looked at my credit score, and at that time where I knew I was going to be going into entrepreneurship, I wanted to move. I'm actually living in Newark as well.
My neighbor.
I wanted to move. There were certain things I needed to do with a high, maybe 500 range credit score, and you talk very openly about your credit score, so I knew I had work to do. And a lot of it was that I was focused so much on living the day-to-day and building that I had not faced what was really happening at that moment in time in the earlier years. I made one phone call. I got on that phone call and I cried. And that phone call was to this woman right here. I swear on everything, I am in the apartment and very much in the financial space I'm in, and had my credit score jump over 100 points in the course of a year because of this woman right here. Beautiful. All right? And I mean that. I mean that.
I love that.
I cried on the phone with her, and what's so dope about Tiffany and the way she goes about what she does is not just the teaching background, but the compassion that you bring to what you do. And I'm saying this as somebody who's worked with you, but I'm saying this as your friend.
That's beautiful.
You bring compassion to what you do, where I remember being on the phone crying, and you were like, Avita, if you don't stop right now, do you know that there are CPAs I know that are in worse situations than you? That was one of the first things she said. And sometimes you just need to hear, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And you're not the worst, and you're not alone. And so finding whoever that Tiffany Budgetnista is for you in your life, whoever's gonna give you the courage to sit down with non-judgment and literally first go dial it back and just face where you are, you have to face it before you implement anything else.
That's
Anything
beautiful.
else.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
So I wasn't going to talk about this till later, but you brought that up, and it's
Okay.
going to lead me right in. Prudential had a really great discussion last night talking about financial wellness and really focusing on the wellness part of it that we don't always do, on the stress, the anxiety, the shame that you mentioned, the guilt about setting healthy boundaries when people hold their hand out, and putting on your own oxygen mask. Being an entrepreneur carries its own type of stress.
Yes.
And a lot of it is about money. So how did you ladies navigate that when you first started your business? How did you sort of do the self-care to get yourself through?
You started?
I think the compassion. It really took a lot of the lessons that I learned from Tiffany, the compassion and knowing that I wasn't alone, and also the support system of other fellow entrepreneurs. That is massive. To be able to sit down, there's conversations I've had with Tiffany that I can only have with Tiffany. Trust me, we know where we are in our respective communities and how we are looked at. So there's some conversations that we need to get on the phone and be like, girl, you see this shit? And we can only wall out with our peers because we know what it's like, because that sometimes we gotta, show face. And so I think creating that very specific peer group where you can let your hair down, you can be as ratchet as you want to, and say what's really on your mind to like pop the balloon that you're always in. Find your support system of fellow entrepreneurs or people in your position or higher to just let the air out of the room a little bit, let the air out.
Yeah, it's important to have, I have a core group, like Avita said, of entrepreneur friends. Well, one, you're gonna want someone who is a few steps, if not 10 steps ahead of you.
Absolutely.
You're gonna want some mentees because they keep you fresh and young, right? So I'm talking about young as far as ideas. So I have like people who are just starting out, and it has me relook at things in a different way. And then you're gonna want your peer group, and this is who you are going to connect with more frequently than anyone else. And so I can remember, bless you, like my peer group. I have my best friend Drina is also my publicist. She always hates when I tell people she's my best friend. She's like, I have a real business. I'm like, whatever. She does. She's like a big time publicist now, but I'm like, whatever, girl, you're my publicist, my best friend. So, but I remember we were building our businesses together. And I remember being like, girl, I don't have enough money in my bills account to pay these bills. She's like, me either. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then calling my friend Mark, who owns all this real estate, and him saying the same thing. What happens with your peer group, they will normalize the process for you. So you're like, oh, this phase of brokenness is normal. I'm not saying it feels good, but it's normal, okay? Oh, this phase of I can't find the right employee is normal. Oh, this phase of I'm starting to make a little bit more money and now everybody has their hand out is normal. You're wanting people that are gonna normalize the process for you so you don't feel crazy, because that part's gonna be essential.
Yes.
Mahisha, I know you have something to say about this because you had a job, a business, 3 kids. How did you get through that stress?
Well, for me, okay, I'm a type A, super control, have to have everything, every duck in a row. So how I normalized it and dealt with it, well, everything these both ladies said were obviously on point, but for me, how I structure and control my financial picture is by controlling everything around me, my environment. I have to have that level of control. So that came from not leaving corporate, keeping that day job, having money secured, saving more than I spent, saving more, than I spent, and making sure that everything I did had a direct return on my investment. Just very disciplined. It came down to me about discipline. To this day, I am so disciplined, and that's one thing we have to learn foundationally as a business owner, because the discipline will come when you get a big paycheck and you wilding out. Oh, I got my first Target PO purchase, okay? I could have walled out on that, but no, I saved about 90% of it and reinvested the other 10% into inventory. So the discipline is going to be important because it's not how much money you make, it's how much you retain.
Yes.
So what I need everyone to learn is the foundational discipline that can come from having someone like this in your life. Because we can get easily where we overspend all those profits, okay? So that's what kept me afloat, is my level of discipline. And working hard, because I was working 2 jobs with an 8-year-old and then 2 babies, and Pfizer and then curls. So I was doing all that, so I was comfortable, and they were comfortable. And so I'm gonna repeat it, I saved everything I made from my corporate job went to the family. Every dime went back into the business. It was about discipline.
I would say be like the squirrel, right? So squirrels are like the best savers. So think about it. When it's fall or it's spring, there's acorns abound, abundance. Squirrels work the hardest, save the most.
Right.
Work the hardest, save the most. Some of y'all are nodding, but let you get some money. You don't be like the squirrel. Right? You get a little bit of money, it's ooh, drinks on me, drinks on me, drinks on me, right? Because when we get money, we do the opposite. We chill the most because things are good and we spend the most.
Yes.
And then financial winter comes. And the squirrel is eating off the nuts that they saved in the fall, and you are out here trying to hustle during your financial winter. No, during your financial winter, because life is cyclical, it's gonna happen, you're supposed to be living off of the money that you saved and invested when things were in abundance. So you have to rethink the way you look at money. When things are in abundance, you're making the most, your job is good, everything is good, you need to be leaning in, put a little extra more work in, and save more. Because a time is gonna come where you're gonna have to live off that money. So know that what you made in January is not just for January. It might also be for November, December, maybe for April, because you might have a rough month and you won't realize that until you get there. But just know financial winter comes for everyone, so be like the squirrel.
And that's what, again, I'm glad we have a room where we can just speak. That's what white people do well. Asians do well. We don't do so well all the time. Not overall, I'm just saying generally speaking. That's where we're weak at. And that's what this is all about, right? Helping us. And this is why you're so important. Helping us change and shift how we think about money and how we use it and how we spend it.
So as we're giving them tips, I want you each to give your tips for starting lean. We talked about that. What is it that you see a lot of other women businesses buying that they don't need to buy, or that you maybe put into the business or bought for the business that you realize later you could have done without?
Things that we... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. The question.
It's about starting lean. When,
okay.
I know Tiffany and I had a great conversation, and she was saying people go out and buy pens and pads, and they got their logo on everything, but they ain't got no product. Yeah. So, tips for starting lean.
That's real. I think for me, what was interesting is starting a business that really was generated from social media, right? You're in a very, very specific and kind of cool time to be an entrepreneur because there's so many ways to do and create businesses without having a ton of startup capital. I ended up, curating trips as one of our income streams, right? I don't need the money necessarily up front. I need the organizational skills and the team, but you can start generating money fairly often with that immediate ROI that you were talking about in an industry like mine. So try to think about industries in which you can flip that and use social media and community a little bit faster to start lean. And when I hear lean, for whatever reason, the first thing I think about is team. For me, having a lean team still to this day and making sure that it's top notch. You're talking about somebody who let go of an entire team a year ago and have a brand new team, because sometimes you gotta break to rebuild better.
Absolutely.
And that's a whole other conversation for another panel one day.
Next year, y'all.
Right, and so for me, like having a lean team, and I see some people even who get investor capital who hire 60, 70 people afterwards and then wonder why they're running out of money or it's not being used the most effectively. To me, labor costs are gonna be your biggest cost anyway. So it's, for me, lean immediately equates to team.
And for me, with my business, because I have a brand, a product-based business, it wasn't going and getting that fancy big, office. I was in my garage. Again, it's about strategy, strategic, ROI, being lean, being, cognizant of how I spend my money. I worked in my home office for the first 3 or 4 years. Okay, so that's what I did. And so teaching, and this is the expert on financial literacy. She's sitting here. But I feel like I've gained and gleaned those those fundamental traits because I needed them to be successful. So now we're teaching those. I created Black Girls Making Millions Academy, creating millionaires one Black Girl at a time. We have our first event in June. where we're teaching these skills, but also the fundamental skills that are needed to succeed. So this is part of it, and I want you to be there.
Oh, I'd love that.
I need you to speak to ladies.
I would say, honestly, so there's a little girl who, she's not little, she's in high school, but her name is Shantae. She lives like a couple doors down from me, and she does hair. And so Shantae has a business because she's got other young women that come. She's only allowed to braid hair on the weekends because she goes to school. But Shantae has a product or service that people want and they buy. That third part, and they buy, that's a business, right? So there are people, you might know them, who have all this stuff, all this accoutrement. They have the office and the this and the this. They've got a product or service. People claim they want to buy it, but they're not, and they pay for it. Shantae has a business. Shantae, on her front stoop, with her Dax hair grease and her rat tail comb, has a business. And so it's really, if you want to start lean, I want you to think about what is the core essence of my business and just do that. You know, if you are a baker, bake and sell that cake. Having a bakery, having a car with your bakery like logo on it does not make you a business. Selling cake makes you a business, you know? So thinking of that, how do I get down to the core of what my business is and just do that and grow from there? And just like remembering that your return on investment is critical. And so same for me, I've got like a team of about 20 people, right? And so having also too a financial person on your team is everything. So in the beginning, everybody wants an admin. I wanted an admin too. And then I realized you can be your own admin. So my admin, her name is Michelle, but that was just me. You email me. Michelle's like, unfortunately, Tiffany is not able to. And sometimes I would forget and put my name like Tiffany, like, oh, darn it. Michelle.
Facts.
Right? But here's what I wish I would have known. I should have had me, because I'm thinking like, I do finance, I got this. No, business finance is a whole nother animal. Bookkeeper, accountant, get you both of them. A bookkeeper is a few bucks an hour, maybe like 15 bucks an hour, and an accountant, you need to be meeting with your accountant quarterly. Because I lost tens of thousands of dollars because I did my taxes incorrectly. And so, I mean, those other people you can get later, but you cannot substitute for having, because money is the lifeblood of your business. You know, bookkeeper, accountant, and keeping your cost low. So even though I have a team, I'm really transparent with my team about how much we make as a company. And because I'm a service business, my CFO and I did our research to see with the service business how much of the gross income of my company should go toward payroll. And so for a service business, you're looking at like 30%. For you, for a product business, most of your money's gonna go toward product, right? But for me, I can go up to 30, 35% and be okay. I told her no, 20%.
Okay.
So, because I want to keep it really, really safe. So my team knows that they know if you want to get a raise, this number got to go up.
And you got to work for it.
Yes.
Right.
And so we have a clear chart. When we get here, you get this. When we get here, you get this. When we get here, you get this. They know if we get to eight, we're on task to make 8 figures this year. If we get to 8 figures this year, I think it's about $12 to $15 million a year steadily, then that we can, on average, the team can make $100,000 a year. Okay. So, you know, they busting behind to make that $100,000, you know? But see, stuff like that is what builds companies. You can't do it by yourself.
And I want to jump in, if I may, about keeping lean costs down. Whoever has a product-based business, or I don't know if there are any entrepreneurs in here, what you said, very important to negotiate down. Sometimes we don't want to do that. We feel afraid to ask for lower costs. Your cost of your product or your service is going to, that you are selling, is going to be absolutely critical to your success. So I don't know if anyone in here is looking to have a product-based business, but negotiate that down and don't go for the first offer. Please learn and negotiate that, because your cost will determine everything.
Yes.
Ladies, we're going to start taking questions. We have time for 3, 4. We can start right here.
Hello.
Yeah? Oh. Hello, my name is Kayla Ward. I live in Miami, Florida. I'm here on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor, my company. My question really is about more so managing your company while working, corporate as well. In terms of people that you work with that know that you have a business outside of, your job where you work, how do you kind of balance people that may have opinions about what you do outside of work,
I'm sorry. We don't care. Yeah.
There you go.
Is he or she paying your bills? You don't care. Be responsible. Don't definitely be out there letting everyone know that you're doing something on the side because it's really not appropriate to some degree, but it's none of their business. Just worry about making sure you do your job good where you are and don't give your boss any reason to have a problem with you and keep it moving. If you have that mental energy to worry about that, then you're missing something else in your personal life. Don't worry about it.
Okay. We're going to take the next question.
Yes, Coach.
My name is Lada Adrian. I'm from Goldman Sachs in New York. Hello.
I love your top.
So, thank you. Question for you. So, you talked about building this community of entrepreneurs, and of course, Everton and Tiffany, you guys are friends. How did you go about building that community? How did you find the people? How did you know the right people to connect with?
Events just like this. It's events, it's speaking engagements, it's the rooms that you're in, it's so many things. And it's funny because for those of you, Faith, I'm big into the universe, I'm a spiritual person. The universe kind of throws people at you when you're ready for them. And so just keep your eyes open and your ears open. But I'm telling you, are literally in like the melting pot of exactly where you need to be to start curating those types of relationships now.
And people will introduce you, like Abida has introduced me to folks. I've introduced her to folks. So, sometimes you have one person that kind of unlocks the door to other people and other people. So being open to like what that looks like. Issa Rae says the best. This is a friend of, you guys know who Issa Rae is, but also this is a friend of Abida's.
Yeah.
She's like, everybody wants to network up, but Beyonce and Oprah are busy.
Yeah.
Right. Networking.
Horizontal networking.
Right.
Network with your family, friends, people, like those people, like most of Issa's team went to college with her.
Yeah.
So networking horizontally, you'd be surprised who you know.
Yep.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Hargrave. I'm from Baltimore, and I'm a budding entrepreneur. My question is, what is your take on further education and getting like an MBA in business or something like that? Like, do you all have those types of degrees, and what's your opinion on making that investment and time commitment, just navigating through the process?
I have a quick story on that. So it was about maybe a year or two before when I knew that No Madness was coming, but I didn't know exactly what was happening. I had gotten a scholarship to get my master's at Goldsmiths in London. And it was an amazing creative entrepreneurial program that they had. And I was in the shower one day and I said, Avita Turquoise Robinson, if somebody that's really my middle name. If somebody gave you a check for $20,000, which was the equivalent of the scholarship, would you go back to school or would you put that towards your focus in starting a business? And in that instance, I said a business, and I was just like, you don't need to go back to school. That's my story, but it may be relevant to somebody in here.
I say, it all depends on you. So I've got my master's, it's not an MBA, but it's an education. I mean, and it served me well.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think college for some, but education for all. So you have to continue to educate yourself, whatever that looks like.
I like that.
And I do think that, I'll just quickly add that what helped me as a marketing major, business administration, it helped me be able to market my own business. I knew how to write a marketing plan, a business plan. I had a leg up. So from that regard, that was my bachelor's degree. I had that. So that helped me. Yeah. That helped.
And because you'll see it, like media, I went to school, like I said, for television and video production. The relationship I have with Issa is because our web series was on her channel. So you'll see like media aspects in what we do and like pitching a television show. All of those things come back.
Yes.
I really like that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
The education for everyone.
Yeah, college
like
for some, education for all.
I like that.
Hello, my name is Jessica Taylor from Dallas, Texas, Team Toyota.
Dallas.
Hey, check out our booth over there. Quick question. So we talked a lot about saving, and I do really well, but I noticed like when you look at your statements, you see those small dividends and things like that. But we don't really hear a lot about investing our money into businesses or to different things that will give us a larger return or a quicker return. Can either of you two of you talk about investing, starting out as an early investor, how to possibly get into investing and what those returns should possibly look like?
I am big on mutual funds and index funds to be exact. So an index fund is really just a fund that mirrors a particular market. So like the S&P 500, top 500 companies in the U.S. So what that means is that your money will do what the S&P 500, those 500 companies does. So over time, that particular market has gone up. Even so, it looks like this. So think about like when a little kid draws a lightning bolt. It looks like this, right? right? And so it's going up, but as it's going up, it's dipping, but still on its way up, it's dipping. So what happens is people freak out during the dips, not understanding that over time, it's still going up. So if you put your money in an index fund, a total stock market index fund, like at a, you know, like a Prudential, do you all have that? Right? But like, I'm sure they have index funds, right? So if you put your money in an index fund like that, what will happen, and I know they have mutual funds, obviously, at Prudential, what will happen is that your money will mirror the market, and you're young, which means over time, it's going to grow. Even as it dips a little, it's going to grow. So it's just like a place where you can kind of set it, not and forget it, but set it and watch it grow naturally.
Right.
So that's a good place to start if you don't know anything else.
Yep.
And is some of this stuff located on your page as well, the index savings?
Well, I have an online school called the Live Richer Academy where we teach investing. We teach everything, but investing is definitely one of those things.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Katie Lawrence. I'm with JP Morgan. My questions, I actually have two, sorry. But first question is, how do you decide or balance between being steadfast with your idea versus listening to other people's advice and pivoting? And then my second question, if you don't mind, is...
No pivoting. Sorry,
okay.
I'm just going to pause there. I'm sorry. Do you guys want to?
No, go ahead.
No pivoting, honey. You have to stay steadfast on your path of where you're supposed to go. You have to close out all the naysayers and go where you're supposed to be. If you let someone come and tell you where you should be or get in your head, then you're going to always be on the path of, oh, I'm pivot left, go right, oh, never, go backwards. No, you will never go forward.
And
so
everyone don't have to know.
pause on that. Don't, and everyone doesn't have to know. Do what is for you, because what's for you, no one can take from you. But don't let them get in your head.
Yeah. Be malleable to the process, not to outside people.
Yes.
I'm telling you, my parents, I love them, but they're just now seeing what I'm doing now. Because they were like, I'm Nigerian, what is this? Oh, this my Igbo name is Odochi. Odochi. When will you get a job? When will you this? When will you that? Meanwhile, last year, I paid off their house $120,000 what they owed left. I paid it off. I say, that's what I did. But they didn't know. You know, but if I had listened to them, they were on a need-to-know basis, and they didn't need to know because I knew that they were going to hate only because they didn't understand. So I didn't tell them, quite honestly. I only told the people that I knew were going to be supportive of my dream, my goal. Now, of course, they're like, the Bojanista is my daughter. But, you know, they come around.
I love it.
I know you have another question, but I'm sorry. We are out of time, and that is the perfect way to end. Ladies, please thank these women. I know.
Oh my God.